Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna Bond is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in, welcome back. I invite you to stop your scrolling and land here with us. I'm Donna Bond. I'm a transformational wisdom teacher, a soul catalyst, and a spiritual psychology coach. And you're tuning in today to Spiritual Ambition. This is episode 38. We're going to do an intuition activation with Jessica Rachel. Spiritual ambition is where high-achieving women who are on a path of awakening slow down and tune in to experience their divine nature. So today we're going to talk about intuition, and every single person on the planet is intuitive. You are intuitive, and you might have just forgotten about that. You know, these quiet whispers that sometimes we second guess, or that deeper knowing that we've been taught to dismiss, actually. What if that's not noise, but what if it's your soul trying to get your attention? Today I'm going to sit down with intuitive spiritual channel Jessica Rachel. She was a French school teacher battling anxiety and burnout until life forced her to stop and to be still and to finally listen. What would that be like for you right now? To slow down, to stop, to come into stillness and listen. Listen to your body, listen to your heartbeat. Listen to your own intuitive voice. When Jessica Rachel did this, everything for her began to change. The trajectory of her life rearranged itself as she began really tuning in and listening to herself and her knowing. So today is not going to be about learning something new. It's about remembering a part of yourself that has been with you the whole time, the part of yourself that sometimes we dismiss. So today's spiritual truth reminder is that every single person on the planet is intuitive, and our intuition is not lost, and it's not broken, and it's actually not something that you need to set out on some big journey or mission to go find. It's just buried. It's buried under the noise. It's buried under the doing. It's buried under the AI right now. It's buried under the conditioning. That's the truth. It's under the voice of other people who might be drowning out your own voice. But you have your own voice, and it's in there, and it wants to be expressed through you, out, up, and into the world. My invitation for you today, as you slow down and tune in, is to consider trusting your intuition at a deeper level. Trusting your own knowing. Even if you did this as an experiment, just for the day, maybe you watch this, you take some guidance and some tips away from Jessica, and experiment with this for the rest of the day today. What different choices might you make, or in what ways would you liberate yourself if you really gave permission to listen to that inner voice? We build these lives that look all good and sexy on paper, but somewhere along the way, we stop trusting ourselves and we start second guessing our knowing. We override those whispers. We call it overthinking when really it is our soul trying to get our attention. In the intuition class that I teach, I have these little tips and tricks on ways that we know that we're overriding our intuition. And one of those ways that I identify is when you can't decide. When you can't decide. We go on these quests of, I got to make a pros and cons list, or I got to start writing things down. When logic is directing us in one way because we're going to look good, or we're going to make money, or all of the indicators point in that direction. But there's something we can't put our finger on that's given us that little nudge. If you have ever had a gut feeling and you've talked yourself out of it only to realize later that you were right, or if you feel disconnected from your own inner guidance and you're not quite sure how to find your way back, you don't want to miss today's episode. We're going to solve that disconnection through an intuition activation with Jessica Rachel. So my intention for you today is that you really deepen into some self-trust, knowing that your inner wisdom is not wrong, it's not batshit crazy, that it actually does exist, and it's the guidance code to a higher life. Jessica Rachel is an intuitive spiritual channel and a coach who left the classroom to answer the call of her own spirit guides. And she now helps others reconnect with their intuitive gifts, their natural gifts that they were born with. So we're going to call in the light, and then we're going to welcome Jessica, and we're going to learn a little bit more about our intuition. So I want to invite you to just close your eyes wherever you are, unless you're operating heavy machinery. Let's just do a little tune in. Just closing your eyes, noticing your feet on the ground, and just take a nice deep inhalation. And just exhaling, letting go of anything that's no longer serving you, dropping off, letting go of anything you no longer need, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. And as we slow down and come into our hearts and come into that stillness, we remember the truth about the real bigness of your beingness. Infinite universe, we call ourselves forward into your loving. We ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, imbalance, any distress, discomfort, dis-ease, any constriction, contraction, false notion, old ideas, limiting beliefs, stale storylines, any energy or vibrational frequency that is vibrating at anything less than the frequency of divine loving that may be residing anywhere in our consciousness, mentally, physically, emotionally, subconsciously, or energetically. We ask that anything with a resonant frequency less than divine loving be lifted and transmuted at this time, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness. Into this space, we ask to be flooded with grace and light and peace, with awareness and intuitive knowingness, with all of our senses. We acknowledge and we welcome only those divine beings of light who love each one of us unconditionally, who work for the divine plan and who work for the light. We welcome only you into our sacred space here today. We ask for your support and assistance in bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart that will resonate most profoundly with each individual here for their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. We are grateful and we say thank you. So be it. Welcome in, everyone. Hello, Jennifer McCormick. Welcome back. Kelly, hello. Labyrinth 3, I still can't do it. Labyrinthia criteria, I still can't do it. I'm going to just give it up, I'll keep trying, though. Hello. Welcome in. The first thing that we always do here on Spiritual Ambition is we send a little love and a little light around the globe to anybody who might need it, to anybody who might be struggling or just needing our good intentions and some upliftment. And we don't underestimate the power of our intentions. So I'm going to send the light straight away to Everest and Winston for their new union and for peace and tranquility to be imbibing that new relationship. We're going to send the light to Celia, to Don, to Paul, Rose, Celia, and Felicia for their support and efforts. Celia. We send the light to Sarah, to Mina, to Mary, to Sophia. And I'm also going to send the light to every being in Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine, Iran, Sudan, and Myanmar. If you have someone who you would like us to hold in our sacred container, you can go to spiritualambitionsacredlight.com and you can submit their name, or you can just drop it in the chat right here, right now. So we're just going to take a moment and intentionally send that love and send that light out to whoever needs it. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your good wishes. All right. Well, let's bring on our guest. Let me tell you a little bit about Jessica Rachel. She is an intuitive, spiritual, we just changed this, channel, from medium to channel. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is. Jessica Rachel is an intuitive, spiritual channel. She's a coach, and she's the host of her own show called the Intuition Activation Podcast. For years, she lived a completely different life entirely. She was an elementary school French teacher who was quietly battling anxiety and burnout with no idea that her spirit guides were waiting for her to stop long enough and listen so that they could talk with her. And this came actually as a really big interruption. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't convenient. It was a series of accidents that forced her to still. And in that stillness, something inside of her cracked open. What she found on the other side of that breaking was her true path. Today, Jessica helps others do what she once thought was impossible. Reconnect with their intuitive gifts, with the gifts that they were born with, the gifts that we're all born with. Through spiritually guided sessions, private intuitive development coaching, and her Meet Your Spirit Guide course, she guides people back to the knowing that they're never actually lost. She believes so deeply that if she could awaken her own gifts after a lifetime of not knowing that they were there, so can you. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Jessica Rachel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Jessica, I'm so excited that you are here, and we want to be in full transparency that we're not alone.
Okay.
And I'm not referring to your spirit guides, but
There's something else. There's a third party here, friend.
Woo! Look at the third party. It's so exciting. Have you done a gender reveal?
Pardon?
Have you done a gender reveal?
No, we have no idea. We're gonna wait till the birth to find out. So
wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's so exciting.
I mean,
this is your first?
No, this is number 3.
Blessings. How exciting.
Yeah. I'm really excited. Yeah. So I have my gut feelings about what I think it is, but we'll just
Me too. Me too. Yes, I just got a very strong hit. But we'll see. We'll have to wait.
Yeah.
And you said your due date is in about 8 weeks, yeah?
Yeah, getting there. Yeah. I would be happy if it was sooner, but as long as baby's healthy, we'll wait.
Yeah, of course. Well, sending just so much love and light for an easy and beautiful delivery with radiant health all the way around.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, Jessica, we wish that we could get on our path without having to go through the hell, but that's just not how it works here in Earth School.
No, never is.
Take us back to the days in the classroom and really the level of discontent that you were working with and suffering through. What was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for that beautiful intro, by the way. And I feel so honored and blessed to be here. So just thank you again.
Oh, thank you. We feel honored and blessed to have your presence with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share. So I'll be quite honest with you. I really, growing up, never imagined myself doing anything besides being a teacher. It is all I ever wanted in life. I love kids. As you can see, I'm having a lot of kids, right? Like that's all I want to do is be in the classroom nurturing young kids. And it's whenever, anybody would ask me, what do you want to do? It was teacher. And so I really, dead set towards going down that path. And it wasn't until I actually started studying to be a teacher and went to teachers college that some of those gut feelings actually started to arise within me. This feeling of there's something about this career that doesn't actually sit well with me. I was starting to disagree with the way the school system was. I didn't like the way that, children were being managed. I didn't like that the curriculum was so restrictive to, when someone has an interest, they can't just go with it. You have to, the bell rings and you got to switch subjects. And, there was so much about it that was really starting to weigh on me. And I remember even bringing this up to my then fiance, now husband, like something about this career. I don't think it's right. And him and my parents and my family and friends were all just telling me, you've come so far, you work so hard to get this far, like just graduate, just do the job. Then you can decide if you don't want to do it anymore, right? Like don't decide before you've even done it. And so those gut feelings were there before I even started the job. And I ignored them because, here in Canada, teaching is actually considered a pretty well-paid job. It has fantastic benefits. And, people are like, it's a good thing. And, to even get hired as a teacher is really, at the time, was really, really challenging. And so the fact that I even got hired was a big deal. So I just wanted to please everybody around me, even though I knew this probably isn't right. So I ignored it, as we do.
Right, as we do. As you're sharing this, I literally could feel myself like getting the chills, like almost like going back to that time when you were first having these realizations. This obviously is before you went on to do the work that you're doing today. So what did you make of that then? Like, I hear the part about wanting to please everyone and just want to, do the right thing and complete the program. But what were you saying inside of yourself to yourself?
It's a good question. I think, there was definitely a conflicting narrative going on, right? There was a part of me going really deep down. The whisper was, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't think this is for me. And I don't think that this is the life I want. Right. And I remember even looking, they assign you to a mentor teacher and you go and teach in their classroom as they watch over you. And I remember seeing her life and going, I don't want this life. Like, I see her, she's with kids all day and then she goes home to her children and she's exhausted. And I just kept thinking, I want to be with my own children. Like those were starting to come up. And so those were the whispers that I was really ignoring. If I look back now, it was pretty loud. It was pretty loud, but I just, swallowed it down and I ignored it. And even to the point where I was so conflicted against the way in which public schools are run that I started seeking out and reaching out to homeschooling families, wanting to just get curious about why is it that they aren't putting their children in the classroom, right? And I started, even while in teachers college, like going to these force group meetups of families who, who chose actively not to put their children in public school because that pull was getting stronger. It was stronger and stronger the more I put myself on this path of public education. And so, if I'm being totally honest, the voice was already pretty loud.
Yeah, I hear you. And gosh, we are all so good at stuffing it down and ignoring it until life gets our attention, right? Like the first time I walked down the aisle, I hope my first husband doesn't watch this. Like I'm walking down the aisle and I heard very clearly, like, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, we don't need to go into that whole story, but it was crystal. It was crystal. And everybody at my wedding also was like, what the hell is she doing? That's a whole other story. All right. So you push it down, you finish the degree, you get the job.
Yeah.
Then what?
Then my body started to listen, right? Started to break down, essentially. Teaching is, I wish I could say that it was all working with children. That's maybe 10% of the job. It's a lot of administrative tasks. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of, dealing with parents and other things that, my ADHD brain actually really didn't do well with. It was very stressful. And the anxiety ramped up and amped up. More and more and more. I wasn't sleeping well. My hair was starting to fall out. I was staying after hours. There was also this added piece that my husband and I were newly married and he was still in school. So I was supporting the both of us. So I would teach a full day of school and then I would go and tutor students in the evenings from 4 to 9 p.m. every night. So I was burning the candle at both ends. Just like, and quite frankly, I was miserable. And I also felt like, it's funny now that I look back and I ignored this. You could mark it on the calendar, Donna. I was getting sick exactly every 3 weeks, like so sick I would have to take a day off work and be home. And it was like so consistent. And I just chalked it up to, well, I work with little kids. Of course I'm getting sick, right? And I'm looking back and going like, no, that was my body protecting me from an environment I knew didn't fit for me. And again, I ignored it. And here's the thing that I love to say is that your spirit guides, your intuition source, whether you are paying attention to your intuition or not, you are being supported no matter what. The question is, how rocky of a path do you want to take before you get redirected? And so it starts with little whispers. It starts with little pebbles, but those pebbles turn into rocks, turn into boulders, turn into the rug getting pulled out from under you. And that was very much the case for me. And I see this so much with my clients now, especially when you're in a job that's not aligned. The circumstances get more difficult. You are being directed into a place where it's so unbearable to be there that you have no choice but to make a change. And so that's exactly what was happening for me. So on top of the constant anxiety, the constant illness, my circumstances were getting more challenging. So I would have a really difficult colleague who I had to share a classroom with. Then the next year I would have a classroom with so many behaviors and it was so difficult to manage, right? So the stress just ramping up. And then my next year we had a new principal and he was just breathing down everybody's neck and making us feel so uncomfortable all the time, right? So like the stakes were getting higher. The stress was just becoming so unbearable. And, it got to the point where I was in my third year of teaching and just utterly and completely miserable is really like hating having to wake up in the morning, dreading having to go to work, right? Like just like my favorite part of the day was the commute home, right? Like it was just awful. And one day I was on my way to work and it was a particularly snowy day. And again, just dreading having to even go to work. And my car spun out on some black ice and it went spinning and slammed into a frozen snowbank. And I hit it pretty hard. The right door and the front right wheel came off. And so it was not a slight car accident. Thankfully, I was mostly okay, but I did end up with a bit of a concussion. And so, the doctor was like, you got to take a break. You need 2 weeks away from screens. Like you cannot be, up and about at the moment. And I just remember being so relieved to just have 2 weeks off. Right? Like who's relieved to have a concussion? I was super excited. Just pause and have a break. And again, I didn't think anything of it other than like, thank God for a little pause, right? And so again, it wasn't enough to wake me up and shake me up. And so then this accident happened just before the Christmas break. And so I got cleared by the doctor. The concussion was healed. And just before we were meant to go back after the break, my husband and I went skiing with some friends and I fell, but my boots didn't disconnect from my skis. So I went one way, but my feet went the other. And I just tore my knee apart. Like everything ripped. LCL, MCL, ACL, like all of it. Just tore it. And so I get a call from HR the day before school's supposed to start in January. How's your concussion doing? Do you need any support? And I kind of, well, actually, I'm on crutches now. And they kind of went, you know what? You just had a concussion. Now you have this knee injury. You're actually a liability to us. We can't have you walking around the school grounds where it's icy and slippery and all of those things. We're going to give you paid sick leave. You need to stay off the school grounds until there's no more snow on the ground. Well, it was January at the time, so they gave me 5 months off. And they just said, don't come back until you're healed, essentially.
All right. Well, can we just say like the universe has your back, right? And we perceive these dramatic things in our life as being awful. You were probably celebrating, weren't you?
Oh, I was having a little party for sure. I was thrilled. Yeah, 100%. And it's so funny now because I still didn't see it. All I could see was, yes, a break. That's all I could see was a break.
Right.
My husband turned to me and thank God for this. He said, you keep saying you're not sure if you want to be a teacher. Why don't you take this time and figure out what else you might do? You have all this time, figure it out. Right. I kind of went, okay. And I was so, in it that I said, I don't know if I can think of something else, but at the very least, I have to get this anxiety under hold. Like I've got to figure out this anxiety. I can't feel this miserable in my day-to-day life. And so that led me to kind of going like, if I'm going to stay on this path, because again, for me, I was such a people pleaser and my parents were so proud that I got this job. I mean, to put it in perspective, I had all of the students. I mean, this is why I ended up doing French because it was so hard to get a teaching position. All of the kids who were in my graduating class were still waiting to get hired. And it had been 4 years since we had graduated, but I got hired right out of graduation. So like the pride that comes with that and the ego that comes with that, right? Like there's a lot of things riding on it. And
these are the physical world conditions that set us up to keep doubting the inner knowing, right? Our parents potentially could be disappointed or, something else that you said that I really just want to play back for our listeners is when we're in this much discontent and we're given a break, sometimes we're just so excited to have that break that we overlook that there's like a bigger thing going on here, because I had a very similar situation where I had gone out on a medical leave of absence because I had a frozen shoulder, which was a gorgeous metaphor for exactly what was going on in my life at the time, because I knew deep down, just like you, I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore, but I wasn't doing anything to take action. I wasn't taking any steps. So this frozen shoulder was like such the perfect outward symbol. But I just bring this back to, for anybody who's listening, if you are finding the universe giving you a little breather, maybe there is a bigger thing to be looking at here.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to cut you off, but I have to get in these teaching points.
Please underline it, highlight it, because I see it in my clients every day. And it's like, wake up. There's a reason you're being shaken here. Right. And we just sometimes, we're so opaque to ourselves, right? Like it's sometimes so clear for us to see it for somebody else and go, don't you see the wake up call? But when you're in it, you don't. You're so attached to everything that is your identity at the time that it becomes really challenging to even peer outside of that. And so I 100% agree with what you're saying.
So your husband was like, Jessica, you have all this time now. Figure it out. And what are you thinking? Are you taking this serious that you are going to figure this out?
Yes.
Or are you watching Netflix?
No, I wasn't watching Netflix. I did start to kind of look down other avenues of should I be trying something else? But really the one thing I still couldn't see outside of me as a teacher, because again, it had been my whole identity. So I said, at the very least, I have to make this more enjoyable for myself. I have to figure out this anxiety. And so I decided to look into meditation, which is something that was foreign to me. And I remember I said that while I was still in teachers college, I had met up with and reached out to some families who were homeschooling families. Well, I reached out to one of the women because I knew that she actually ran these women's meditation circles in her house. And it was a group of women who were former teachers who decided they didn't agree with the system, pulled their own kids out of school, decided to homeschool them, and were all spiritual. And they would get together every weekend and go to her house and have these women's meditation circles. And I thought, well, I know this person, maybe she can help me learn how to meditate. So I reached out to her and she's absolutely come to my house, come join this women's meditation circle. And Donna, I had never meditated ever in my life before. I didn't even really know what it was, to be honest. I just knew that was the buzzword. That's what you do when you have anxiety. and so I went to this circle and it was like something woke up in my heart. I feel like I probably had been experiencing anxiety my entire life and had never actually had any break from it. And it wasn't until I sat in that circle that I went, this is what peace really feels like. I'd never felt that before. And
let me just play it back for everyone. Okay, so Jessica goes to a meditation class and she discovers this is what peace really feels like.
Yeah.
And has the awareness that this underlying anxiety that has been with her entire life has always been there, right? Yeah. That you never experienced peace before.
Oh my God.
Holy smokes.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Right?
I can. The exact same thing happened for me.
Right.
But this is so important for everybody to hear. I get so excited.
And I'll be honest, from that point on, I was hooked, right? Because I got addicted to that feeling of peace. And the truth is that I felt like I couldn't recreate it on my own just yet. And so I kept just attending these women's meditation circles. She would host them sometimes 2 times a week. I would go to every single one. But what's interesting about it is that they weren't just doing meditation, right? These were very spiritual women, right? They were very awake and they were talking about things like detaching from the matrix and, they would talk about things like New Earth and, all of these things that were so foreign to me, but it felt like she was hitting so many truths. And I was going, yes, this is what I have been thinking of all along, but didn't have the language for it. And so something was waking up in my soul attending these circles. Yes. And so I kept attending as many as she hosted. I was there. And finally, one day I looked at her and, these were all women who, most of them actually had been teachers who either decided to never go into the public school system or pulled themselves out. And so I said, I think like you sold me. I know now I don't want to be a teacher anymore, but I can't for the life of me figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life. That's been my whole identity. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Could you help me? And she said, and this is a very spiritual woman. She said, why don't you ask your spirit guides? And I went, my what? Yeah, what are you talking about? And so she tries to explain to me what a spirit guide is. And then she pulls out her phone and she goes, there's this app. It's called Insight Timer. You don't have to just meditate here. There's thousands of meditations on this app.
I'm on there. Are you on there?
Oh, I'm on there now. Yeah. How many years later, but she goes, there's all these meditations that can teach you how to connect with your spirit guides. They're there to help you find your path and purpose. Do these meditations and see if you can get some answers. And I was like, all right, I'll bite, right? For sure. And so that's what I did. I went home and I found the meditations that she showed me. I found a whole bunch of them. And some of them were like an hour long, 2 hours long. Like they were there to really help awaken your third eye, get you into a deep state of meditation so that you could really get those answers that you want. And again, I only had one question. If I'm not supposed to be a teacher, what am I supposed to do? And slowly over time, and I will say, I had a lot of unwinding to do. There was a lot of anxiety there that just like, it takes some time to learn how to meditate if you've never done it before and you've been living a life of anxiety your whole life. So it took, I would say, a couple of months of doing this every day for a couple of hours every day. And I had nothing better to do, right? My knee was broken. I was on the couch. And I'll never forget the very first time that it feels like something came through in a meditation. And I felt a guide come through and I didn't quite see the guide, but I remember asking, give me a sign, send me a sign if I'm not supposed to be a teacher, just give me that. And I remember seeing in my mind's eye, the image of a lion pop up. And I remember going like, that mean? Like courage? Okay. And I tried to Google it, spiritual meaning of a lion. Nothing really resonated with me. And I was kind of going, well, maybe I made that up, right? As we often do when we first see something and we try to connect with our intuition.
Maybe I made that up.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart.
Yeah.
Maybe I made that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want everyone who is hearing this to just tune into that.
Yeah.
And forgive yourself for even believing for 1 minute that you made it up.
Yeah, for sure.
That you are a multi-dimensional being with more faculties than you can even possibly imagine in this tiny human form that we are in, right?
Yeah. Don't gaslight yourself, right?
Don't gaslight yourself. Yes.
And that's what I did. But here's the crazy part is the very next day. So after I did that meditation, I went to go and visit a friend who I hadn't seen in a long time. And the second I walked in her door, her little 4-year-old son, who didn't really know me. I'd seen him maybe once or twice in his life. I walked in the door and he grabs me by the hand. He says, Jessica, I have to show you something. Grabs me by the hand, pulls me up the stairs and points to a lion figurine sitting on a table right there at the top of the stairs. And he points to it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the light. I saw that yesterday. Goosebumps all over my body. And I looked at him and I go, oh, like, why did you want to show me that? And he kind of went, I don't know. And then he just went off the play. And I just like, oh my God, that was the lion. And remember, the question was, if I'm not supposed to be a teacher, send me a sign. Here's your sign, right? There it is.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And I want to remind all of our viewers, between the ages of 0 and 7,
yes,
the veil is very thin for all of our young people that are on the planet. And I love that Spirit is working through all of the people around us all of the time to get our attention, right? To like shake the tree, like, look at this over here. Here's this little kid who's like, I don't know why I had to show you this, but I had to show it to you. It's
Right?
amazing, right?
It
I
was so
mean, these are miracles.
Yes, they are. And it's so beautiful. And kids are so in tune. And so it's, I often, when I'll teach kind of classes and have people ask for signs, and they will report back to me, a lot of the times the signs come through kids. So it's very cool.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah. So that's really amazing. And so I went, okay, I'm not supposed to be a teacher. I can start to look elsewhere. Right. And so, life kind of went on. I continued to practice these meditations, starting to get little messages from my guides, nothing clear, nothing really potent, right? But very slowly starting to connect, starting to maybe see what my guides looked like, but it was trickling in and I wanted more. And so I went to this meditation circle one more time, and there was a woman there who was new, and she was running a drumming circle this time. And she told us that she was a reflexologist. Really, she was a channel or a medium or psychic. But she told people that she did reflexology so they could use their insurance to work with her. But she said that
So they could use their insurance to work with her. Is that what you
the
said?
health insurance to work with her. So she was certified as a reflexologist, but that's not what she was doing.
Yeah, I get it. I love
I
this.
loved it. It's amazing. And so she said that she mostly worked with people who had anxiety, and that was her mission, her calling. She wanted to help people with their anxiety. And I went, please help me. And at the time, actually, my husband, he also has really severe anxiety, and he was trying to get off anti-anxiety meds. And so we were going on this journey a little bit together, but meditation he wasn't quite on that path yet. So he was trying other ways, like running and, other things. And so I asked her if she would work on both my husband and I, and she agreed. So we went to her house. And my husband kind of goes, I don't know who these spiritual people are that you've been hanging out with lately. If I'm going into that room and she's working on me, like, you're coming with me. I'm not going in there alone. I was like, okay, no problem. So she has my husband go first. She lies him down on like a massage table and she starts working on him. And I'm sitting on the floor. The lights are dim. There's beautiful meditation music. And I'm just kind of meditating, enjoying the ambiance. And she starts calling in all of these beautiful beings of light, right? She calls in Archangel Michael and the purple flame of Saint Germain and a whole bunch of other things by name that I'd never heard of. And I'm sitting there and I see these beings drop into the room. Like, I see them. My eyes were open. I could see.
What do you mean, Jessica, that you see them? Like, help our audience really understand, like, what does that mean? You see them like you see me right now, or explain.
Yes. And so I will say, when I'm teaching like intuition, it is very much in your mind's eye, right? So it feels like your imagination, but maybe a little bit more glittery, a little bit more holographic like, but it's not like I'm seeing you in the screen in front of me, right? Like, it's not exactly like that. It's definitely more in your imagination. This particular experience felt a lot more magical, I would say, or heightened than my typical channeling session. For some reason, this felt like it was seeing, but on steroids. And I don't know if that was just her energy or the both of us in the room together, or just my guides needing me to really believe this is real. I'm not sure. But it did feel like I was seeing them with my eyes open this time, right? I didn't have my eyes closed. I was looking. And she called them in and I could see the colors. And then I see her ask them to put energy in her hands. I see her pour this light over my husband, and I see my husband's body reacting in real time. She wasn't touching him, but the energy was, and I could see that happening too. And I see his body kind of doing this. And to this day, Donna, honestly, it's still the most magical experience I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
Wow.
It was incredible. And so she finishes working out with my husband, and, he comes out of that like he'd never been relaxed in his entire life either, right? So he's feeling like $1 million. And I went up to her and I go, when you called in so-and-so, did it look like this? And that one, was he that color? Like, and I start describing everything I'm seeing, and she goes, yeah, like that's, and she's so nonchalant about it. And I went, you've got to teach me how you did that. Like, please show me what to do. And for her, the experience was very different. She had been a channel her entire life. She'd known about it since she was a child. This was not something she had to work towards. This was something that just came very naturally to her. Mm-hmm. And so she agreed to try and mentor me, but it wasn't something that she, intentionally sought out. So she had to kind of figure out, like, how do I break this down for somebody else? And so she agreed to work with me. I started coming to her house every week, once a week. And she taught me everything she knew about how she channeled. And so she would teach me things like how to call in the guides, right? And she would teach me how to create boundaries. And she taught me how to astral travel, right? Which was very cool. And astral project yourself. She taught me how to protect myself, how to ground myself. She gave me a couple of books. And then I also started seeking out, because again, for her, it came so naturally. She didn't necessarily have all the steps, right? And so then I started seeking out podcasts and books and anything I could get my hands on. How can I do what that woman just did? And more importantly, the thing that was really pulling me was, I want a clear enough connection to my own guides to answer the question, if I'm not supposed to be a teacher, what am I supposed to do? That was the only answer I was after. And so again, it took some time and it took some practicing and some figuring out, what is my process? How do I connect to these beings? But after some time and reading the books and working with her, eventually I started connecting to loved ones and receiving really clear messages. And my family would confirm for me, like, there's no way you could have known that about your great grandmother, like those types of things. Finally connecting to my own guides and being able to connect to guides for other people as well. And when I finally asked the question and was able to hear very clear answers, what am I supposed to do with my life? They were like, this, Jessica, you're supposed to do this, right? They kind of go, you're supposed to help people who are in the same spot as you, where they feel stuck. They feel like they've painted themselves into a corner. They're unhappy and unfulfilled. Help them find their true path, their true purpose, their true alignment, and, channel their guides so that they too can get back in alignment. And so that's what I made my mission to be. And so, yeah.
Jessica, as you're coming into the realization of this, right?
Yeah.
And the identity that you had known yourself to be as a teacher,
right,
which isn't really lost, right? Like,
no,
it matters that it isn't really lost. It's just going to look a lot different. Mm-hmm. But what I'm after and what I'm asking you is, tell us about your own inner process. Like, how were you sort of dealing with all of this? Were you like delighted and excited and this is super fun? Or were you like kind of freaking out a little bit? Like, wow, is this really real?
Yeah.
Am I really clairvoyant? And we're going to talk about the clairs, because that's another question that I have for you, so that you can help our audience understand all the different clairs. Mm-hmm. But like, what's going on inside of you?
Yeah. And I want to be honest here, because I think people think like, oh, she found her purpose and then everything was like, roses after that.
I hear you.
And it was actually a very conflicting path to be on. And even when I did start doing this full time, that identity of teacher, like, people would ask me, what do you do? And I wouldn't tell them. I would still say I was a teacher. It took me years to shed that. And so there were kind of two pieces, because I will say I did go back to teaching at the end of that school year. There was 2 more months of the school year that I had to go back. And when I did that, I was so miserable there. I was so convicted that I could not go back after that. Right? Like, I went there and went, okay, I am a different person than I was 5 months ago. It solidified for me that there's no going back. There's no going back. And so I quit at the end of the summer. I told it, like, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do or how I was going to figure it out, but it was so strong in me, the conviction that I could not go back, that I just didn't allow there to be another choice. And so
I perceive that also as intuition, right? Like, when our body is just like stonewalling us, right? Like, sorry, not going there. Like, I perceive that as inner knowing. Would you agree with that?
100%. If you feel, there's all the little signs, there's the big things like accidents and whatever, but there's also this part of you where it just feels like, I just can't anymore. Right? It's not me anymore. And I know very few people who, when they get to that point, can continue on the same path.
Right. Without getting breast cancer or like really coming into a dis-ease and an imbalance in their physical being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. If you're overriding that system, I hate to say it, but often there are consequences to that, right? And usually
Yeah.
it is your body that's trying to protect you. So often it does look like a health scare. And I would say that I almost wonder, like, if I had continued to go along, would it have been a health thing? Probably. Or sometimes it looks like you getting fired unexpectedly, right? Like
Right.
sometimes the universe doesn't give you a choice anymore. They're like,
The universe
you're
has your back.
back, right? So I think there was a point where I hit a point of no return, and hopefully most people do. And so that was it for me. At the end of the year, I quit, and I switched to substitute teaching so I could still have income while I was trying to build this thing up. But it gave me the flexibility to only go in when I wanted to, and honestly, after a few months, I was maybe going once a week. It was just enough to get us by. And because don't forget, my husband was still in school. He hadn't even graduated yet. So I was still income for us.
Wow.
But what I did was I took that summer before the school year started again, and I would have to go back to substitute teaching. I joined every Facebook group that I could find and asked people who would be my guinea pig. There's this thing that I'm trying out. I channel spirit guides, I channel loved ones. I just need practice and I need confirmation. I want to get good at this. I will give you a free reading. I just need your feedback. Is there anyone who wants to practice with me? And so I went onto the groups of people who were trying to develop their intuitive abilities, and there's tons of them out there. You just have to look. So get online with whoever was willing, and receive that feedback. And when it started to feel like enough people were giving me the confirmation that what was coming through resonated with them, I kind of pushed myself, and it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying, but pushed myself to start charging money to do that for people.
Mm-hmm.
And it started really small.
I also want to drop in here and just re-emphasize that this is a skill. Right? This is a skill that we learn. Jessica is in the ethers with me right now. This is a skill that we can, like any skill, perfect, get better at, develop a certain level of mastery around and over and through. And I know for myself, as I have slowed down, come into stillness, have a very serious, dedicated meditation practice and spiritual practice, there's a natural piece of this that is coming online, but there's also learning about the Clairs. And, you teach a little bit about how people can open up their intuition. So just talk to us a little bit about that, about the skill set of this.
Yeah. And if I can create a little reframe, if that's okay, I want to say that the intuition piece, getting you to have the intuition, is not the skill. Everybody has an intuition and you are born with it. And I have no doubt that every single person listening to this can channel. The skill is being able to trust yourself when you are channeling. And so that's more of what it is. The practice comes from being able to have confidence in what you are experiencing and being able to then put words to it and actually say it out loud and trust what it comes through. So it's a skill of trusting yourself. It's coming back to yourself. It's not am I separate? Am I this person? And I think it has a lot to do with the media, right? We see these mediums on TV, right? Long Island medium. We think there's like these special people who are born with this God-given right, and the rest of us are just mere mortals. And that's not the case, right? You all can be a medium. You all can be a channel. And it's just a question of, do you trust it? And that's the skill. The skill is learning to trust it. So I just wanted to create that.
No, this is beautiful. This is exactly what I'm after. This is exactly on point, exactly what I'm after. And I think it's also an answer to Box of Kleenex, who's asking, how can I practice to strengthen it? Because I feel really disconnected from my intuition. And so what I hear you saying, Jessica, is you got to trust yourself.
And I would love to offer a couple of really tangible tools, if that's okay.
Please, yes.
Okay. So I do want to say, like, yes, acknowledging that you have an intuition definitely is step one, right? Acknowledging anytime you had a whisper or a gut feeling and you followed it and it worked out for you, right? Starting to trust that and doing it. Or if you ignored it and you regretted it, right? Oh, that's what it felt like. And I wish I had listened to that feeling, right? That's like base level listening to our intuition. But for the people who are here, I assume they kind of go, I want to blow this wide open, right? I want to hear it clearly. I want my guides to talk to me, right? I want to hear the voices and I don't want to be able to, I don't want to have to question it at all. So there's a couple of things you can do. So there's like 3 or 4 steps that I always like to have people follow. And the first thing, and you and I both probably have expressed this very often, you have to do something to get out of your head and into your body. Right now, of course, I'm a very strong advocate for meditation, but that's not the only way to do that, right? You can do anything that's just going to get you away from the chattery to-do list of the day. That can look like going for a walk with no headphones in, right? That can look like taking a shower. That can look like doing something that's a little bit on autopilot, like washing the dishes or folding laundry, where your mind can wander, right? It's something that just moves me away from the active what's next, right? How can I drop in just a little bit? Often even just 5 deep breaths can be enough to get you away from the chattery mind and into the body a little bit more. So you have to figure out, what is it the thing for you, right? Is it meditation? Is it going for a walk? Is it taking a few deep breaths? Is it a combination of all of those things, right? Figure that piece out first. Once you've kind of figured out, okay, how do I get to a place of feeling a little bit more calm? When you're in that place, then I do say the best thing you can do is, if you want to build a relationship with your spirit guides, with source, with the light, whatever word you subscribe to, it's helpful to ask them out loud to come and join you in that moment. It can be as simple as, as you did at the beginning of this session, I invite the light in, or, hey, spirit guides, are you here with me? Right? Just call them in, activate it. You're creating and building a relationship with this piece of source. Talk to it, right? Ask it to connect with you in that moment.
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it. Yes. And so I like to do, I do a whole long-winded thing when I'm working with a client, right? I say, I'm calling upon all of my spirit guides and loved ones and masters and angels and archangels. And sometimes I'll just say, all the beautiful beings of light who walk with me, please come and join me in this guided meditation or in this moment. And so do something to initiate that. Your guides are always there. They're always in the background, but they're not always aware that you're trying to talk to them in that moment. So speak to them out loud. So that's number 2. Then the next thing is, once you've done those 2 things, I need you to know that that's a container. Any message that comes through after that point, we have to start trusting is a channeled message. So whether it feels like it's your own thoughts or your own imagination or a sensation you made up in your mind, right? You didn't make it up, because you got out of your head and into your body and you called in the light. Okay. When you've done those 2 things, everything is channeled. However, most of us still at this point will second guess ourselves. So there's one other thing that you can do to help solidify that trust. And this is what I like to call my channeling insurance policy.
I love this.
And what you can do is, in that moment, you can ask your guides, please send a physical sensation through my body so that I know that you're here with me. Okay.
Oh.
And when you do that, you're going to feel a sensation come in. It can be a tingling in your third eye. Maybe it feels like pressure. A lot of people say it feels like warmth or tingling in their palms. Sometimes people feel like someone's tickling my face, or there's warmth on my chest. But you're going to look for that sensation, right? And notice it. And then you're going to think, I want you to think of like a volume dial on a radio. You're going to ask your guides, can you please turn up the volume on that sensation? So pick a percentage, by 50%, by 100%, until it's so undeniable that you feel that feeling. You're not guessing it anymore, right? For me, the sensation actually, it kind of feels like someone's making my palms go back and forth like this. Okay, so I feel my hands start to move. And then you say, thank you, I feel you. Now, anytime you go and call in your guides or call in source, or whatever you want to call it, you're going to look for that sensation. And then you can start to ask questions, right? Do I go to this job interview? Should I attend this party or not? Whatever the question is. But when you call in your guides, do you feel the sensation? Any answer that comes through in that moment, if the sensation is there, you didn't make it up, because your guides are here in that moment. And so then
Beautiful,
from there,
Jessica.
You ask the questions, you start to get the
What
answers.
great tips. Yeah, these are wonderful ways for people to begin experimenting and like begin that level of trust that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't believe our hour has evaporated like in the
Gosh.
ethers. I know, it's totally crazy. You know, how can we experience more of you? I know you have your own show called Intuition Activation.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, and like, where can we find you if somebody wants to do an intuitive channeling session with you?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So yes, you can. I do have a podcast. It's currently on a short hiatus while I get ready for this baby, but it will be back shortly. But it is called Intuition Activation, and you can find me on YouTube or wherever podcasts are available. And then I also have, you could find me on Instagram at I am Jessica Rachel. But if you do want a session with me and you want me to channel your guides for you, I do have a website, jessicarachel.co. But the other thing that I always say is, I always like to render myself useless to my clients. I want you to be able to receive those messages for yourself so that you don't need to seek out a psychic or a channel or a medium. And so that's where I have my Meet Your Spirit Guides course, where you can learn how to do this yourself, where you can practice feeling that sensation and receive those real answers in real time. And that's available on my website as well.
Well, Jessica, Rachel, thank you so much for being with us today. Sophia, thank you for your question. We're not going to go into that in this moment, but thank you so much. We're going to close our space in the same similar way that we open it. I just want to say thank you so much for being here, and thank you. And we want to acknowledge all of the many beautiful beings of light that have joined us, that are here not only with Jessica, Rachel, and myself, but also with every single person who is participating with us live here and now, watching the show Spiritual Ambition, or tuning in later. We just ask that the light be sent up ahead for all of us, so that we can all remember and recognize our own intuitive gifts and nature. We are now closing all energetic lines of communication between any of us, closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between any of us and the spirit world. We are so grateful, and we say thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being with us. You matter. We're closing the show in love, with love, for love, by love, as love. Thank you.
Thank you so much.